Hey everyone, I'm Sam. I'm here with NATP in the marketing department. I have two of our instructor extraordinaires who are on site today, and they are doing a little bit of teaching, practice teaching for us. Does that sound right, you guys?
Yeah, it's pretty close for today.
Okay. Running through our 1040 workshops.
What's
correct?
coming up? What's coming up?
Okay. And do you want to introduce yourselves?
I am Les Marty. I'm an enrolled agent from Gibson City, Illinois. I specialize in small business and farm returns.
And Kelly?
I am Kelly Ledpaul. I am from Western New York, so out near Buffalo, New York, and I actually specialize in personal returns. I'm also a certified financial planner, so I do focus more on the personal side of the tax preparation.
Perfect. And tell me a little bit about your day today. You've been here today and yesterday as well, correct? So tell me a little bit about what you've been doing.
So yesterday we started out with day one of the 1040 and going through update and some of the new law, talking a lot about kind of the Tax Cut and Jobs Act and what we saw during tax season and how that actually kind of played out in practice as opposed to the theory that we learned and taught last year. So it was really good discussion among the instructors. It's like, oh, maybe this is what happened, we didn't expect it, or now it's where the rubber meets the road and things really go into practice. And today we're in day two, looking more at the business sides of Schedule C and Schedule B issues.
What else have you guys been doing, Les?
We spent a lot of time just looking deeper into the book itself and how it's been written. And from a practice standpoint, from our side of the desk as preparers, what we think those attending the 1040 workshops will say, this is what we want to see. Because it's one thing to be an author of a book. It's another thing to present it and then say, hey, I'm out here in the trenches. I know what it's like to prepare the returns. Here's what we need to know. So we're tweaking the book as we go as well.
Interesting. So it's really, we're growing as tax professionals and evolving as the days go by. Even as instructors, you guys are adding
For sure.
things as we
Yeah.
go. That's
Absolutely.
interesting. Do you find that difficult, or is it just kind of part of the?
One of the things I tell my attendees is I sat in their seats for a lot of years before I decided to teach. And I did it because I like to teach, I like to get up and talk about this stuff, but I also have learned it at such a much deeper level that I'm amazed at how often I go back to my bookshelf, and Les and I were talking about this earlier, and I go back, it's like, we talked about that 2 years ago, and I don't remember all the details, but I know that I can go back and pick up that book and say it really just triggers some things in my practice that I know I need to look at more now.
And I'm sure Kelly's smarter than me, but I will have taught it 8 to 10 to 12 times or 18 times. And then I get into practice, I said, what did I even say? What was going? And so I have to look it up. Like, oh yeah, that was it. So we've taught it, we go over it, but for me, I don't always retain it. To have the book there as a reference material is invaluable.
And the other thing we had talked about too is how often we hit on topics, NATP picks topics that I see in my practice all the time, that we really do pick up and talk about very common issues. And again, it's those things that I don't see it every year, every tax season, but when I do, it's like, wait a minute, you know what? I remember talking about this. Whereas if I hadn't been to the workshop or instructed, I might not even have been aware that it was an issue. I just, I don't know about it. I don't know what I don't know, so I just kind of skim over something.
So what are some of the reasons that someone who maybe is newer to the industry would want to attend a 1040 workshop? From either of your perspectives.
Newer or seasoned,
Okay.
it's the first part of tax season. It's like, okay, it's been a number of months since we've dusted off a return. It's time to get freshened up for the new season. It's like, okay, what did I forget? What is there to know? It's like, look at the forms again, and forms are different again this year. Major change last year, minor change again this year. See the new forms. Get used to what's on there. Here's some of the new things that are out. see what is expiring. So it's just good to mentally prepare.
So
It's like spring training.
Yeah.
You wanna practice.
Yeah.
You wanna practice before you step up at the plate.
So there's really something for everyone at these workshops.
You bet.
You don't need
You
to
bet.
be new.
I think that one of the big advantages, certainly for being here today or these couple of days, and for attendees going to a live workshop versus taking an online course. I take a lot of online courses. I need to get my own CE, and I don't get that for all of my teaching hours. But it's hearing other stories and getting the practical application and being in a room with other people facing those same issues. I don't get that from an online workshop. I read the words, maybe they make sense, maybe they don't make sense. I get, I page through it and I get my credits, but did I really learn it to the level that I'm going to be able to apply it to the best advantage for my clients?
Whenever I teach, I like to encourage discussion. I like to encourage questions because that's the real life scenario. That's where the rubber meets the road. If somebody's got a question, likelihood that there's a number of people sitting in the room that have the same question. Bring it on, and if you're going to listen to me for 8 hours straight, you're going to fall asleep. So let's get it going back and forth. Let's have everybody talking.
Yeah, it's a more
Interactive,
exactly,
very interactive.
which is great.
It's awesome.
What are some of the things, without giving too much away, some of the big topics that people have been struggling with or that you guys are addressing as part of the tax law change?
199A.
199A. Okay.
Yep. Qualified business income and losses
For rental,
for rentals.
yeah, also for Schedule Cs or for business, but also for rental, who is in the business of renting.
Okay.
Stay tuned for a lot of
Stay
discussion.
tuned. It's going to be
Exciting.
good.
And is that the changes that were made were significant, or is it more just that there are more people who are experiencing these situations, these tax situations, so they're becoming more common for tax professionals?
Some of it's the final regulations that came down after middle of January. So we had the Tax Cut and Jobs Act that was passed the end of 2017. We talked that last fall. Then we get into January of 2019, and Congress says, "Oh, by the way, we need to do some tweaking of what was written," and some of them were major surprises to us, things we didn't talk about last year. And then we also have the practical side of, okay, now we've gone through a tax season using these laws. What does it look like on our software? What does it look like on the form? What were some unexpected consequences of those changes? So it really is, I think this is going to be a lot more real, true life or valuable. In some sense.
Solidifying. Yeah, we now have something to base it on. Last year when I was teaching, the biggest question I brought up was the rentals. And yeah, how do we treat those? It wasn't clarified till January. And now that we have clarification, now we need to define it. We need to go in a little deeper and say, all right, does this qualify? Does this qualify? Now that we have the guidelines, the structure, we all used it last year. Did we use it properly? How many amended returns am I going to have to do now that I know a little bit more?
Right.
And that's more with the farm returns than even with the rentals.
Oh, interesting.
But my attitude even on the rentals has changed drastically in the last couple weeks.
How so?
The safe harbor is just that. It's a safe harbor. It is not the test.
It's not the be all.
It is not the be all end all. That is one way of qualifying. But then does it rise to the level of a 162 trade or business?
And
That's another way.
There's been a lot of discussion about it.
A
There was a
lot
lot
of discussion.
yesterday.
Yeah.
And I think that again is a lot of the value. Is that we don't have a definitive answer. And so, what is your professional opinion? What is your professional opinion? How does that fit with my professional opinion?
Even on our instructor panel, there was a difference in opinion. Hey, we need to come up with a set statement, and we don't have that yet.
Yeah.
Because the court cases haven't gotten to us yet. And here's what I was telling everybody last year during the classes. I said, here's what's lovely about TCJA is that we always prepare in the dark whenever a new tax law comes along for 3 or 4 or 5 years till the court cases come along, and then what happens? It sunsets. It goes away. We no longer have it. We revert back to old law, so we will never get this done right. I shouldn't say it that way, but you feel that way.
Yeah.
As a preparer, it's like we're filing in the dark. We finally get the answers, and then it changes back.
Yeah.
And that's a real challenge for those of us. So it's important to come to class, figure out if you're doing it as properly as we know, given what we know.
So what will an attendee walk away with after they've attended this course? You
A
mentioned
headache.
in the best way.
No,
of course.
you're gleaning so much information, and it does. You feel like a really full sponge at the end of the day. Specifically,
Do they get a textbook?
oh,
2 textbooks.
2 textbooks.
Well, a text.
one for each day.
One for each day.
One for each day.
And you guys would recommend attending both days of the workshop,
For sure.
correct? Okay.
Day
Yeah.
1, we touch on some issues and we say, oh, by the way, if you want more detail, we're going to address that in day 2. So day 1 is we're covering a lot of territory very quickly, a lot of updates,
A lot
stuff,
of update.
which is great. We all need to know that. But day 2, we really start to look under the hood with more in-depth examples, and this is really what it's going to look like on the tax return. One of the things that we talked about today is the no more like-kind exchange for non-real estate assets or not real property. And how do somebody trades in a vehicle. What does that look like on the tax return? Now we have a deemed sale, and what do we do with that?
And if it was an auto that was used in business that was listed property, and we've maybe accelerated that depreciation, there could be recapture, which is different than the 1245 recapture. And it's the old adage, you don't know what you don't know till you don't know it, or until you find it out.
Until somebody tells you, you didn't know it.
And we were kidding a little bit this morning. They said there's 2 reasons we're thankful for April 15th. One is another tax season's over, and another is another statute of limitations has passed.
3-year cycle is
Because you're like, wow, we just found out something new, and the comment was made, how often does a client's face pop in front of your face, your mind, when you start discussing an issue?
Even among the instructors.
Yes.
We've all said,
Yeah.
I don't have all the answers. I don't know all of this. It's such a vast body of information that we can only start listening and learning and talking amongst ourselves and trying to come up with the best solution.
And that's why most of us specialize, or at least have our own areas of expertise that we're comfortable in because of the vast information.
I think the other thing that I've seen happen and develop in some of my classes is, oh, you know about farms, or Cheryl Morse would say farms. Because she's from Boston.
How do you spell that? F-A-H-M.
So maybe we find an area that we're weak in, and we find a resource either for doing getting some information, or maybe making some referrals, and just broadening our professional network.
And even within class, you might sit by somebody that you didn't know, and during a discussion, they bring up a topic, and it's like, oh, that's the same question I had, and you will talk to them, and now they're in your local community, or relatively close. So you might develop a network with other tax preparers in your vicinity.
Yeah, because there are multiple locations for these workshops that they're being held, so it's the likelihood that you will find someone who is nearby, at least within some sort of distance. And that kind of adds, I think, to another reason to attend an in-person education versus online if you can. You just have that networking component that you really don't get.
Definitely.
Exactly.
What else should people know about these workshops? Are there any other reasons that stand out that you think that someone should attend, or things that they might get out of it?
One thing, this is a little bit off topic, but one of the things that I'm surprised at, but the more I've seen it happen, the less surprised I become, is I'll be in Virginia, for example, and somebody will be there from Wisconsin. or I'm in Florida and somebody's there from New York, whatever, across the country. But a lot of people use this as an opportunity to travel to an area that they want to go to, maybe visit family, maybe just see an area. They get some tax write-off as a sole proprietor, right? They go to the workshop.
Ordinary necessary business expense.
Absolutely. And so they'll get that write-off, and they'll also be able to extend it for
That's
personal
great.
reasons.
Yeah, you don't get that very often, that opportunity.
Right.
So
Yeah, I would mirror that Branson. I've taught in Branson a
Okay.
couple times, and I always like to find out where people are from. And when I got there, it's like all over the country. Why? Because it's a destination. It's a vacation destination.
And
No,
last
they
party.
came to see Branson. Let's be honest. Yeah. Yeah, I was just the one up front. Yeah.
what made you guys get into this industry? How long have you been practicing, and what is your story that way?
I've been doing it now 32 years. This will be my 33rd, 1987, however long that's been.
Yeah.
I think 33rd season upcoming. Yeah, it seems like forever.
Yeah.
I love numbers, and if you're new to the industry or considering it, is you have to love numbers and you have to get along with people, because we do a lot of that. We do a lot of counseling in the office that you don't think of that, but there's divorce, there's death, there's family members stealing from each other. There's all kinds of things that come into play that we have to be ready to be an ear and work them through some of their problems. It's may start as a tax problem, but it stretches into so many other areas of their life. Yeah.
Huh.
So you don't think of those things.
No, you're really more
Yeah.
of an asset to the family and not just their financial tax.
I feel that.
What would you say, Kelly?
I've been in the industry since '94. I'd say full time since '94. Never set out like, oh, I'm just dying to prepare taxes. But it was a combination of loving numbers, enjoying working with people, but really kind of the money aspect, and ties in with my financial planning practice. I'm able to add so much value to my financial planning practice or clients by being able to, I know this tax side. We're not going to make a financial move that's going to blow up your tax return. But let's make sure we understand kind of the broad implications of what we're doing here so that I can add the most value.
That's a great asset. It seems like a perk to be able to add both of those lenses to a financial situation for your clients.
And I do have a box of tissues on my desk.
So,
And
of course.
And I did use them just recently, actually. Like,
In past years, it's always been on the client side. After passing through TCJA, I made sure there was another box on my side. Oh.
You never know what the day brings, right?
Yeah. So, as a kid, I was thinking, all right, do I want to be a professional baseball player, an astronaut? No, let's prepare taxes for no. Never crossed the radar screen ever. But I love it.
Good.
I feel sorry for people who clock in 40 hours a week, 70% of their lives, it's something they hate. Love what I do. I love teaching. I love the interaction with people, meeting people, getting to hear their stories.
That's great.
You don't think of preparing taxes as being that way, but
Yeah.
it is a
Industry.
very people-centric industry.
That's wonderful. What else? Is there anything else that people should know about these workshops that you want to highlight, or any other discussions among the instructors the last couple of days you think would be?
I just want to reiterate how often, when I first started doing taxes, the people that I worked with said, "Oh, you have to join NATP." Okay, so I joined NATP. And I went to some classes over the years, and that was great. And then, but at some point, I realized how often I was going back to those books. That how spot on NATP seems to be, and I know they use their research department to develop the course content. So these are the questions that the tax professional community has, regularly. And so that's what we're going to talk about. So for that person, pick that sole practitioner or somebody in a small office, this is going to bring a much broader perspective in. It's going to make you feel like you're part of a community instead of out there by yourself.
Yeah, that's great. anything else you want to add, Les?
Similarly, first thing I heard when I started as an employee 33 years ago, 32 years ago is got to join NATP. Second thing, you have to go to the fall workshop because it gets you ready. I don't think I've missed a year.
Yeah.
You just I haven't missed a year of NATP membership, and I don't believe I've missed a year of teaching, of sitting on one side of the podium or the other, standing on one side of the podium or the other. Yeah, it's a must. You just do it.
I think kind of the last part of that, or launching off of that, is we have practices. We're in there. We're doing the same thing that the participants are doing. We just happen to be able to talking about it, but we have real life experiences. We have the stories. We're in the trenches. We feel your pain.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
We
Yeah.
know.
That's great.
Yeah.
We know a lot of what you're dealing with, so we're a resource, and just don't be afraid to use it.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, we're so happy to have you both here and are excited to see what you guys bring to the workshops this fall. And thanks again for sitting down with me. We'll say goodbye and have a wonderful trip back home.
All right.